Hi, my name is Ariana Ellis. In today's video, my chosen historical figure is Bartolomé de las Casas. The biography I chose to use to research my historical figure is called Bartolomé de las Casas, a biography by Lawrence Clayton. Through the rest of the video, I will talk about the importance of my historical figure and how he is mentioned in the American Yop. I will explain his significance and his continuing relevance in the 21st century. In the subcategory called the man in the biography, it tells us that Las Casas was born in his hometown called Sevilla. The son of a small merchant, Las Casas is believed to have gone to Granada as a soldier in 1497 and to have enrolled to study Latin in the academy at the cathedral in Sevilla. Under the title The Indies in the biography, we find out that in 1502 he left for Hispaniola in the West Indies with the governor, Nicholas de Ovando. As a reward for his participation in various expeditions, he was given a royal land grant, including Indian inhabitants, and he soon began to evangelize that population, serving as a lay teacher of catechism. In 1513, he took part in the bloody conquest of Cuba, and as priest encomendero, received an allotment of Indian serfs. Although during his first 12 years in America, Las Casas was a willing participant in the conquest of the Caribbean, he did not indefinitely remain indifferent to the fate of the indigenous people. Under the title The Great Debate, it states that Las Casas and a group of farm laborers departed for America in December 1520. The failure to recruit a sufficient number of farmers, the opposition of the encomenderos of Santo Domingo, and finally an attack by the Indians themselves were factors that brought disaster to the experiment in January 1522. In the final fight section, we learned that Las Casas then entered upon the most fruitful period of his life. He became an influential figure at court and at the Council of the Indies, in addition to writing numerous memorials. He came into direct confrontation with an increasingly important figure at court by reason of his Democrats. Las Casas finally confronted him in 1550 at the Council of Valladolid, which was presided over by famous theologians. The argument was continued in 1551, and its repercussions were enormous. Las Casas continued to write books, tracts, and petitions, testimony to his unwavering determination to leave in written form his principal arguments in defense of the indigenous peoples of the Americas. During his final years, Las Casas came to the indispensable advisor both of the Council of the Indies and to the king of many of the problems relating to the Indies. Back to the biography under death in Madrid. At the age of 90, Las Casas completed 2 more works on the Spanish conquest in the Americas. 2 years later, he died in the Dominican Covenant, having continued to end his defense of his beloved Indians oppressed by the colonial system that Europe was organizing. Las Casas should be remembered in the 21st century. Although his influence with Spain and the Indies declined sharply, his name became well known in other parts of Europe. In the early 19th century, the Latin American revolutionary Simón Bolívar himself was inspired by some of the letters of Las Casas, and in the struggle against Spain, as were some of the heroes of Mexican independence. His name came into prominence again in the latter half the 20th century, in connection with the indigenista movements in Peru and Mexico. The modern significance of Las Casas lies in the fact that he was the first European to perceive the economic, political, and cultural justice of the colonial system maintained by the North Atlantic powers since the 16th century for the control of Latin America, Africa, and Asia.